Gary DePaul with Unlabeled Leadership. Welcome to episode 49. Johnette Karpeh is intentional about purpose. Here's a shout out to listeners who are from Oslo, Norway, and Al Asima, Kuwait. With that, let's get started. I've known Johnette about 8 years since we worked together at Lowe's Home Improvement, and I've kept touch with her as she's progressed her career at Wells Fargo. But there's something you probably don't know about Johnette, which is that over the years, Johnette has consistently contributed towards her community. It's through her community work where Johnette leads, serves, and thrives. Later in the episode, Johnette is going to share one of her stories about working in the community, and this was about fundraising. There's one thing I'm certain of. If you're a nonprofit and you need help, you'd be fortunate to have someone like Johnette on your side. Part 1, Reflections about Purpose. In my book, 9 Practices of 21st Century Leadership, I share a quotation from John Maxwell. Here it is. When you add value to people, you lift them up, help them advance, make them part of something bigger than themselves, and assist them in becoming who they were made to be. In other words, what John Maxwell is talking about is purpose. Part of leadership is helping others develop their purpose, but also it's about helping yourself develop purpose. Johnette shares some stories about her life to really get at this concept of purpose. Here she is.
Something that changed my perspective and view as it relates to my life is the whole topic of purpose. A lot of people are trying to find their purpose or strive to find their purpose or get depressed or really down because they feel like they're not operating in their purpose. A couple of years ago, I watched a sermon from Miles Monroe. And in addition to him, Craig Rochelle, Dr. Darius Daniels, other individuals, they did conversations that are geared around the topic of purpose. And it really had me looking at purpose totally different. When we are kids, a lot of times the purpose is geared towards where are you going to go to college? Where are you going to work? Get married, have a family, things of that nature. Yes, that is a part of your purpose, but sometimes we are looking so far ahead of what our purpose is, what we need to be doing, that we forget or we do not realize that purpose is found in every single day activities and experiences and situations. Today is my 40th birthday. To create some energy and excitement around it, I did a little thing on social media where I told my story. I used the hashtag storytelling or story time. With that, I want people to see how my life's journey, like when I was a kid versus now, how a lot of things that I did, a lot of behaviors are directly related to what I'm doing now. So one of them is with my dad. My dad did all the grocery shopping growing up. My mom did all the cooking. Saturdays was his time to shop. And so everyone is still asleep. I have 2 sisters, and I think we had a cousin living with us at the time. Everyone is asleep, enjoying their time. What am I doing? I'm getting up. I think I was in the 3rd or 4th grade, doing my hair, putting on my clothes, real intentional about what I put on, come downstairs, and I just positioned myself to be ready for the opportunity of when he came down so I can run with him. I never asked. I just positioned myself to be ready to go. And so my mom will always laugh at me and he will come down. The majority of the times he would say, yeah. When he said no, I tried to negotiate, but I just couldn't have my way. Sometimes I had to stay home. And so we would go all around the city. I learned a lot from how he bargained and his rationale and strategy. In addition to that, the attention to detail. And so, like I said, as I got dressed, I was very particular about my hair, about what I put on, even with my dad, just very detailed, very intentional. And so when I look at my life now and just over the years, that's been my behavior, it's aligned to my purpose. I'm a networker, I'm a connector, I'm very social, but it's with purpose, it's with intention, and I'm very particular and I pay attention to the details, but it goes well with what I do. I do a lot of event planning and consulting and things of that nature as well. It's just all aligned to it. I can go further into it, but just wanted to provide a little example that a lot of times we just overlook those things. And if we don't take the time to pause and stick in it, sometimes we're missing key lessons that's related to our greater purpose. That was really eye-opening to me.
I haven't thought about purpose as something that you can mature in.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about when you're younger, your purpose may be who you date, who you hang out with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Am I going to go to college? And those are all very short term, but they're, I guess, very destinational. And it sounds like your purpose has matured so that it's not necessarily a destination, but it's a way of living your life and how you affect the people around you and how you choose to interact with them. And it's very deliberate and detailed in what you do.
Absolutely. Back in 2017, I lost my world. That's my mom, our rock. And at the time, I did not understand it. I'm a woman of faith. So we believe God, and it just didn't happen the way that we wanted to. It was an extremely painful time. Grief is painful, regardless, but that fresh grief, it cannot be described. Not understanding how I was ever going to be able to live without my mom. I've always said, I can't live without my parents. Like I've always said that out of my mouth, and now I'm doing it. But at the time, I couldn't understand how in the world am I going to be able to get past this and live a quality life and excel and concentrate, all of those things. So one of my cousins, she had a conference. Her brand is called Oprah Speaks, and her name is actually Oprah, by the way. Yes, everybody's like, Oprah. Yeah, her name is Oprah. But she has her platform, and she too went through some pain. And so she had a conference, Finding Purpose Through Pain. The perspective of it is, when we go through painful experiences and challenges, sometimes some people never get over it. Some people can never achieve goals because they're so caught up in the pain, not realizing even in pain, there's purpose. Through that time, that experience of grief and trauma of losing my mom, I took my time, right? And so I grieved and I pouted and I was mad and I did whatever I need to do that I thought I needed to do to find peace. As it evolved, I was just strengthened in ways that I would have never imagined. And again, like I said, I'm a woman of faith. So primarily that's where it came from. But God used specific experiences and encounters to show me where he was working. So no, it's not excusing my mom not being here, because I'll take her back and throw away all of those lessons learned, right?
Oh, yeah.
But when I look back and I'm like, wow, like just the various experiences. We'll be here for 3 hours if I provided details. I just wanted to kind of just put it out there that even in pain, there's purpose. You just have to be willing to find out what that is and go through it.
When I hear you talking about that, it reminds me of people that have lost children, or they've had children that had ended up with disabilities that are born with autism. Sure, there may be pain. You feel for the person, for your own children, that are going through this, but it gives you purpose. And suddenly you find yourself being the champion and supporter for other people that are going through this, and even supporting autism organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to continue living life. Okay, what was the purpose of this situation? Or what can I learn from this situation? And I know that sounds sometimes so cliche, but you have to do that. Otherwise, you will miss opportunities. You will miss what God is doing to build strength. I love, love, love to work out. That's what I do. But working out, even though I love it, it hurts. To build muscle is not easy. You have to go through pain, right? But I associate that with just dealing with life, growing in your career, growing in your faith, growing with family. It's going to be painful, but it's rewarding at the end.
It's okay to go through and experience the loss, experience grief, because that's just part of the process. But to your point, at some point, you look for, what do I learn from this, and how do I develop from it, and what's the message that I'm supposed to take from this?
Absolutely.
Part 2, Lady, no disrespect. Sometimes starting a new task can be challenging. We may need help with our competence just to develop our capabilities, or we just need help with our confidence. Johnette shares a story about developing some new skills. Here's Johnette.
I think I want to take it back to when I was an inexperienced leader. I think that would be a little bit more impactful and interesting. Early in my career, I volunteered with an organization called Girl Talk Foundation. Janine Davis was the founder of it. She still is connected, but she's kind of transitioned out of the role. And I hope she listens to this because she's going to laugh. But she taught me a lot about leadership. But at the time, I just thought she was being cruel, right? I got involved quick. So like I said, my traits from when I was younger, as far as following my dad and really taking on those leadership qualities in him and honing on those skills, that's what I did as it relates to her and just different people older than me within the foundation. I took on a leadership role, but it was kind of under the umbrella of one of my other friends who were in the organization. But the leadership role was to manage an annual fundraising event at Morton's Steakhouse. So at the time I think I was fresh out of college, never been to any real fancy restaurants. So I was already intimidated by the fact that, oh, wow, I'm leading an event at this expensive steakhouse. Oh my God, this is so big. My mind back then was so small, didn't get it.
I'm used to McDonald's.
Yes, right. Bodegas, yes. TGI Fridays.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the event was there. Like I said, it's their annual fundraising event. It was one of many. She provided me with instruction, and I had support with my friend, Debbie, who was helping me to lead, but I had to kind of take the lead. And so there were things about leadership that, of course, I didn't get, but not only that, but just about her event. So I wanted to make sure that I executed appropriately, that I made the right decisions when people asked me questions. So I will go to her and I'll be like, hey, Janine, this person needs something, or this person didn't show up, or whatever, or whatever, whatever. I thought she called just me lady at the time. So I was thinking she was being disrespectful. She was like, lady, just figure it out. And I was thinking to myself, lady, not realizing she called everybody lady. Like I was taking everything so personal because I was nervous. And so she was like, lady, just figure it out. You're leading. I trust you. And so I went back to my friend. I said, how does she trust me? I've never done this before. I don't know what she wants. So I started to kind of panic. So my friend, she helped to calm me down. She was kind of the liaison. And I can tell that she was laughing under her breath because she knew where my position was, but at the same time, she understood. So she was helping me to lead as well. I can go on about that. Through that whole experience, I realized that even as an experienced leader, you're not going to always know. You're not going to always have the answers. Things are not going to go as planned. You're going to have to push back. You're going to have to empower. You're going to have to influence all of those things. And so when I look at my first major event to my latest event in which I'm a seasoned leader experienced, the same feeling and energy was there. But the difference in this time is I was confident even through my fears, and I had courage and I went forward with it. Just even talking about it, because I haven't sat and talked about it, but in hindsight, I'm like, wow. So Janine Davis, if you're listening, thank you for giving me a hard time because it taught me a lot about leadership.
Andy Hibble, who was my first guest, also did an event that it wasn't I don't think it was a fundraiser event, but he did do a dinner like what you went through. Mm-hmm. He was intimidated.
Yeah.
He's expected to lead this thing, and this one way or another, the event had to go on.
Absolutely.
I like how Janine said it, lady.
Lady, figure it
out. But I trust you. I believe in you.
Exactly.
I know that you can do it. And
exactly.
When she said that, and you went back to your friend and said, I can't believe this. You relied on other people to help you figure it out as well and give you some guidance.
And that's another good point you're making, because a lot of times with leaders, they feel like they should have all the answers and make all the decisions. A good leader knows their strengths and areas of opportunities, and they seek out people who are even smarter than them to partner with to help run their organization or whatever, event that's going on. To me, that's smart leadership. You're taking the load off yourself.
The guest talked about this on a previous show, is that there's two parts to the formula. You find people who are smarter, more insightful, have something to offer, and you bring them in. But the second part of the formula is you leverage their abilities. And too often in corporate America, we hire the brightest and the best, and then we want to just tell them what to do and not give them the opportunity to really use their abilities.
Absolutely. So it's just been interesting experience over the years, as it relates to leadership, because a lot of times in the past, I was chasing a title. So I've worked at really big companies and I've been continuing to work at a big company, but I try to look for opportunities based upon the title and based upon whatever pay is attached to that or specific work, not realizing, Janet, you've been in a leadership role all of your life. And again, if we had time, I could paint that picture from a child to a teenager to just like consistently with the different things that I've done, how people look up to me or rely on me, or just the expectations that they have of me that I didn't even realize that they did. It was one time there was a particular event. I wasn't even the leader of the event. I was on the team. As the leader was leading, I was just asking her certain questions or bringing certain things to mind, like, hey, did you consider this? Did we do this? Did we do this? And she realized, she's like, you know what? Why don't you lead? Like, literally, just take this off my plate and lead this part so that way I can focus on another part. So I ended up being a leader for an event that I was just there to be a worker. But that's kind of how my mindset is. I'm always looking for ways to enhance or, to take ownership, but not realizing I'm doing that, if that makes sense. But
Oh, yeah.
it's not about title.
It's not about title. In fact, from whatever role you have, you can lead from that perspective.
Absolutely. In whatever role you have. Absolutely.
Part 3, Lift as you climb. One of the underlying principles of leadership is develop leadership practices continuously. If you're going to be fluent in leadership, you need to practice leadership regularly, monitor your effectiveness, and then modify your behaviors. Johnette shares a guiding principle that's a little bit broader than that. She does this by starting off with some advice for us. Again, here's Johnette.
My advice is simple, and it may clearly be what you've already heard before, but it's very important to just be really intentional about working towards changing your mindset and perspective on life and on purpose and on leadership. I use the term stay in your lane. Like if we're driving and I get off in someone else's lane and not paying attention and so focused on what they're doing, I can create an accident. I can delay my journey, all of our journeys, because I'm not focused on my lane and staying there and driving. And a lot of times we are always looking at someone else's lane and then we lose focus on the mission, on the goal, and on our specific purpose. And so just feed your mind, get involved, get connected with maybe not even so much like-minded people because you want to grow, right? But like-minded people as it relates to focusing on their lane and growing. So for me, I read, but I also listen to a lot of podcasts, like when I'm driving, when I'm working, in idle time as well. Leadership podcasts, there are definitely ones that I listen to. Craig Rochelle is one of them. And then, of course, Gary DePaul, the podcast that we're on now. Darius Daniels, it's Dr. Darius Daniels. It's just so many different content out there that we can leverage to gain knowledge in areas that either we don't have it or that we need to enhance.
It's so easy when we're at work or doing something, we get caught up in the moment in what we're doing.
Yes.
That we don't take that step back. We don't make sure that we're focused, that we're using our guiding principles to make decisions and don't take time to be reflective of what we're doing.
Absolutely.
I guess it would be like a meta view of what you're doing. And what it sounds like what your advice is, when you stay in your lane, you stay focused.
Yeah.
It means keeping the big picture in mind and what you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And then those times when you do get out of your lane, it should be where you're trying to seek guidance and encouragement from others who are doing it in their lane. It's okay to get out your lane, but at the appropriate exit or pit stop, to get guidance. I really encourage everyone to just feed your mind. And so I'm going to do a shameless plug because I actually am about to order Gary's book that's called What the Heck is Leadership and Why Should I Care? That's
shameless plug.
Shameless plug. And no, he did not ask me to do that, ladies and gentlemen. This is all Johnette Karpeh. But I'm serious. These are resources and tools that are out here. And whenever you get to the point where you think you've arrived, where you don't need to grow, where you don't need to read, where you don't need to support others, then you're losing. You're failing. because we need to continuously grow in addition to continuously encourage each other. Of course, everyone knows the saying, lift as you climb. That's always been my motto. Just continue to feed your mindset, but really, really change your perspective on purpose, for purpose, and about purpose.
Lift as you climb.
Yeah, I got that from, thought it was a known saying, but one of my friends, Tori Dandy, he says it all the time, and it's just a great reminder. We have to.
My thanks to Johnette Karpeh. If you'd like to learn more about Johnette, go to the show notes. If you have a comment or question, go to unlabelleadership.com, click the message icon, and you can leave a voicemail message up to 1 minute. Maybe I'll play it on the air. I'd like to thank those who contribute to the show. Your contributions helps offset some of the production cost. But mostly, I'd like to thank you for listening. Until next time, lead on.